We just saw extreme value in the ability to generate passive income through rental properties. So it wasn't necessarily a poor market. I think there's a lot of very successful flippers. It is a grind.
If you're looking at HGTV, it looks like flipping a house is like this, wonderful, easy, amazing thing, and you make lots of money. And sure, that the making lots of money can happen in the right circumstances, but you mentioned it being a grind.
Not to sound cliche or, hey, I just read some leadership book and now I'm going to come out here and say something revolutionary, but it is the team that you put in place. So every single entity is run separate. Now we are all in the same building, and I think from an accountability standpoint, that's huge.
How do you do that? I think it's easier said than done. Sort of finding the right team members to have that run smoothly. How do you look at team building in your eyes? Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Lindsay Davis. Lindsay is the Chief Executive Officer at Spartan Invest, Atlas Rental Property, and Corinth Construction. Under her leadership, Spartan Invest is ranked in the Inc. 5000 fastest growing companies list for 8 consecutive years. So very impressive. As I mentioned, I'm gonna let you tell the story because I think it'll sound better that way. But first off, thank you for being on the show today, Lindsay. I'm really excited to get to chat with you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, and I really like the topic of your why, because I think everybody's is very different, and we get to deal with that a lot with our clients and our investors of why they're choosing Spartan or real estate in general. So knowing and understanding your why, I think is the best question to ask.
Awesome. Well, let's just start with your background. Tell us a bit about yourself. Probably didn't get to the Inc. 5000 list right away, but let's hear a bit of the story to that point.
Yeah, no, definitely didn't get there right away. And so essentially, just so everyone knows kind of what Spartan is and kind of how we got there, is we're a full service turnkey company. So we buy, renovate, and resell properties in the Southeast, primarily in Alabama. We're based out of Birmingham. But kind of going back to your why and how we got here was about 15 years ago. It was myself and a business partner, and the economy was terrible. We were in facility services, and that's where we started our career at Cintas Corporation, laundering uniforms, et cetera, and had some relatives out of Montgomery that were flipping properties, like, hey, do you want to try this? And so we were like, yeah, sure. We're young, in our 20s, and we said, sure, why not? So we kind of purchased a couple of properties on the side and flipped those. Again, it took a long time to sell them, but we still saw the opportunity. So we decided, hey, let's go all in. Let's make this our primary form of income, which is pretty rough to do, but we felt like that was the best opportunity. And then after a couple of years of flipping properties, very HGTV, we were struggling. Some quarters no properties were moving. It was a different market, a different time. And so we went out and purchased a bunch of rental properties. And those rental properties that we were managing, that was paying our income, that was paying our rent, our utilities, really handling all the overhead. And I tell that story because that is what really kind of became our focus. That's when the light bulb went off, and we were like, this is the value that we see in real estate, and this is the value that we could pass on to clients. And so we just completely scratched our business model that we'd been doing for 2 years that had been profitable. We weren't losing money, but it wasn't as consistent as we would like. And we just saw there was more value and opportunity to share with investors by going the rental property route. So we started Spartan Invest and Atlas Rental Property. It was Alabama Rental Property then, but then when we moved out of Alabama, we had to change the name. So kind of made a really big shift, and that's what we've been doing since 2013 is how long we've been doing the turnkey. myself, like I said, me and my business partner, we started the entities, and then let's see about me. I am a wife and a mother of three. And so if you're asking kind of like, hey, that's what's my why, it is definitely them. I don't have a lot of free time. Most of my free time is spent at some form of ballpark or soccer field. It's usually
Yeah.
football or baseball, but or at the office. So that's kind of my life in a nutshell. It's not extremely interesting, as I'm sure most busy parents. It's about the same. But yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah. No, great, great. And I mean, I would say that being a parent is it's pretty interesting. I think it's challenging. It doesn't leave for a lot of outside other things, but yeah,
It
it's pretty
really
interesting.
doesn't.
They keep you busy, that's for sure. Um, so so you started with flipping, and that was, you said, like 2010, something like that range.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, I mean, at that point, we were coming, I don't know, I guess a little bit out of the great financial crisis, that the real estate crash there. Um, and I think that was about the time when flipping got, I don't know, popular ish. You mentioned HGTV, that's probably why, but the you said it wasn't. It sounds like it wasn't. Again, if you look at HGTV, it looked like every house in America suddenly was able to be flipped, and you made a big profit. But it sounds like it wasn't as fast paced for you as maybe it gets described sometimes. If you decided to shift models at that point, is there was that regional? Do I just have a wrong impression? Like what do you make of that in terms of like the timing in the market?
Well, I think of a couple of different things. So you're looking at 2010, 2011, and we really didn't start seeing the us come out of the recession until 12 and 13.
Okay.
It was more those years. So when you're buying properties now, the amount that we were able to purchase properties, man, coulda, woulda, shoulda. If I had the capital that I have now, if I could go back in time, oh my goodness, some of the properties, what we were able to buy them from out of foreclosure on the courthouse steps for where it's laughable right now. But um, the purchase side was a lot easier, and then the renovation side, there was a lot of home buying, home builders. 40% of them left the field or left their job just in general over the Great Recession. So finding good contractors, there are pieces of it that were a lot easier. But anyone out there that's flipping knows that it is very market contingent, and if you're having to pay a lot of buyers closing costs and real estate agents and doing concessions, and which is completely fine, but there's just a lot of maybe potentially like outliers. Like no property is going to be the same when you're flipping them, and when you're looking at scaling, it's a very difficult business to scale, and that your most prominent house flippers are the ones that go in and they are hands on with the project, and it is a grind. And like I said, it wasn't that we had been unsuccessful with flipping. A lot of times they took longer to sell. Like they just sat on the market longer. That was pretty normal then. In winter months, we had two fourth quarters where we were barely breaking even, and because of the couple of properties that we were able to sell. So just slower months, slower quarters, and just being able to kind of grow what like a vision of what we saw. We wanted to kind of really grow a company and onboard more people and be a little bit more scalable. And then the property management side, we just saw extreme value in the ability to generate passive income through rental properties. So it wasn't necessarily a poor market. I think there's a lot of very successful flippers. It is a grind. Anybody that does it day in and day out will tell you it is it's nonstop. You're always having to hunt the next deal, and you're having to monitor the project through and to get it on the market, et cetera, make sure that it's you don't go over budgets, you're hiring the right people, you've got the correct team. But when we toe dipped into rental properties, that's just where our entire perspective changed, and realizing that there are not a lot of markets out there that make sense for rental properties. Most of our investors, they are from Southern California and Hawaii, New York, a lot of European clients that they want to invest in real estate. They want a buy and hold strategy. They want in the single family space, and their market just doesn't make sense. There's no way they're going to be able to generate a 10% rate of return from a single family home purchase in their current market. It just doesn't make sense. And a lot of times the markets that they live in might not necessarily be very landlord friendly. And whereas Alabama and Georgia and Tennessee, which where we are, they are very landlord friendly. So there's a couple of different variables, but really just kind of seeing the value in the rental property and then seeing what our market specifically had to offer to others was the biggest reason, I think, for the shift.
Are you planning a remodel or construction project? Overwhelmed by the process? Over budget? Extended timelines? Strained relationships? We are all too familiar. At Lark Construction Services, we help homeowners and business owners take control of their construction journey, from reviewing bids and contracts to catching red flags before they become costly mistakes. Our Clarity Audit is a one-on-one expert review of your plans, estimates, or current progress, giving you the peace of mind and a defined action plan to move forward with confidence. Don't let confusion lead to costly errors. Visit larkconstruction.com and schedule your free call today. Lark Construction Services, saving you time, money, and stress.
Yeah. No, thank you for that explanation. And I think you sort of preemptively answered some of what I think maybe people, again, if you're looking at HGTV, it looks like flipping a house is like this, wonderful, easy, amazing thing, and you make lots of money. And sure, that the making lots of money can happen in the right circumstances, but you mentioned it being a grind, and I think that's if that is your full-time job, it is a job. It's not
yes.
It's a passive activity. It's fine. Most people need some sort of job to generate income, but
Right.
it is a job. And so I think that that distinction between, flipping being the job that it is, and you can make big chunks of money, but you also, if things, like you said, things are sitting on the market, you might not realize the profit for, a couple months or so, which can make it hard to continue doing more and more flips. And that's where, so that shift to the rental properties makes a ton of sense. And so, you're coupling, I think that, that mix that everybody's looking for is, how do I couple this passive income with my active income so that eventually I need less active income and I'm making more passive income. And it's like, but it takes a long time to get that, strategy in place. So your current focus is turnkey rentals, single family, or are you doing multifamily as well?
So we are primarily doing single family. We do have some multifamily, some duplexes, properties with ADUs, but the vast majority of our inventory is single family homes in most of Alabama, North Georgia, and Tennessee. Those are our three markets. We have like you said, Corinth Construction is our new construction company. We started that in 2020. It was a terrible year to start a new construction company. I did not know what was happening. We did the paperwork in January, February. It was awful. Everything got put on pause with that one. But we started new construction as well, just to, again, help our clients have a little bit of diversity. They buy some older properties at a lower price point. They're able to buy some new construction at a higher price point with a longer deferred maintenance. And we have several neighborhoods currently in development and in the process of being constructed for both, owner occupants and investors. We do a little bit of both there. Our property management company, just as far as a size go, we have it's right at 2,100 doors under management in our various markets. So we've got a pretty sizable property management company that comes with purchasing from Spartan.
No, that's great. So is the properties that you're managing, are you doing any third party property managing, or are they all properties that have come through Spartan?
The vast majority of them are ones that were purchased through Spartan Invest or built from Corinth Construction. But we did recently start onboarding some outside properties. We had a lot of clients that would buy a property from us, and then they had other properties in our market that they didn't necessarily buy, and so they're dealing with two property management companies. Sure. So asked us to onboard those, and then that happened last year. So then we started allowing other investors to onboard. It's not really the primary goal. The goal for Atlas Rental Property is to service the clients who purchase with Spartan Invest, and that's going to remain our number one objective. And I can't speak to that enough. And that if you are looking at investing in real estate, or if you're looking at wanting to generate some passive income, the property management piece and the long-term management of whatever investment is going to be the biggest factor in how your property performs, or how your investment performs. So I can't speak to that enough, as doing as much due diligence as you can when you're looking at these type of opportunities.
Yeah, no, that tremendously important. And I love that you sort of vertically integrated everything, because I think that, I mean, it gives you a whole lot of quality control, right? Especially if you're new construction, finding the investor and then managing that property for them. It really gives you kind of start to finish very have a good handle on that quality control. And I mean, I think the fact that outside investors are coming to use you as a third party property management just speaks to you must be doing a good job. So I think it's that when we are not vertically integrated, and I would love to be, because I think it does create just a really good internal checks and balances system. How did that evolution work for you? I mean, it sounds like, you first Spartan Invest, then property management, and then the construction. Like, what were the factors that made you decide to kind of bring those all in-house, or how did that evolution work out for you?
Yeah, and that's a really good question, because a lot of other turnkey companies don't have a property management, or a lot of other if you're going to look at buying a single family, or from a flipper, or a company that will flip the property for you, contractors, they don't offer the property management piece. I will say it was kind of an accident, because like I said, we had went out and purchased a lot of rental properties, and we were already managing our own portfolio. So we had already had the management piece in place. And then when we shifted gears towards the turnkey model, we just continued to manage the properties that we were then flipping to investors. And so that's kind of how it started. Now, the reason why I can't advocate it for it enough is that, like you said, just the transparency, the accountability that we're able to hold on the turnkey company, Spartan, and then on the new construction company piece as well, because we see it all on the management side. And kind of when you say, hey, well, what is the goal of Spartan? What's the dream? What's your why? It is to create mailbox money for investors. For those wanting to go into real estate, we want to be able for them to just sit back and have money deposited into their account every week, and then reap the benefits of your depreciation, see all the appreciation, et cetera, et cetera. So what all can we provide to factor into that what the goal is of Spartan? And then it just made sense to continue to be vertically integrated with the property management company.
It,
So it
yeah.
sounds like I'm echoing. Am I echoing? Am I crazy? It could be
I
just
don't,
me.
I don't hear you echoing.
Okay, good. It's just me. Then I'm crazy.
uh, no, sorry. I'm sorry I'm not hearing
No,
any echo. So hopefully that's
no,
not
no,
too.
no, no. It's totally fine. It's probably it's definitely me. Then I kind of could have swore I was like I'm hearing myself like say it twice. I was like, man, this is
That's I.
I get the country twang in my ear a couple of times. I was like, man,
You get
that's pretty rough for your
you
listeners. I
get you get
apologize.
to enjoy your own voice twice. No, the idea of being, like I said, I really like the idea of being vertically integrated. I think, how did you, I guess, how do you enjoy that from a business owner perspective, right? Because that it's a lot of, um, they're all different tasks, right? It being, a turnkey provider, finding those homes for people, like, I know it all ties in together, but at the same time, now you're running three different businesses. How do you manage that? Like, what is that? I don't know, what challenges have you come across in that?
Yeah, that's definitely been a very big challenge. But not to sound cliche or hey, I just read some leadership book and now I'm going to come out here and say something revolutionary. But it is the team that you put in place. So every single entity is run separate. Now we are all in the same building. And I think from an accountability standpoint, that's huge. And I never want to lose that about the different companies all working together. So for example, like the warranties that we offer. If Spartan Invest renovates a property for you and then something goes wrong, well, then we're going to go back in and take care of that if it falls in, the warranty time frame.
Mhm.
And so then it's my maintenance director going right to my construction manager and being like, hey, look, like I've got to, we moved a tenant in here, there's something. And so they're already handling it. So there's that accountability piece that's right there. But it's also putting the people in place over the companies that are going to work together and see the big picture. Now, with the challenges of every entity, it's drastically different, and I've seen, I was like, hey, one day all of them are going to be performing at the same level, but yet it has not happened. And that you'll see dips in interest rates, right? When investor activity declined in 20 and then was it summer of 22 when the Fed started hiking up the interest rates. I mean,
Yeah.
are on the SI side, on the turnkey side, we saw a significant dip, but on the property management side, we were having record years because rents were still accelerating and stuff. So, and then again, now on the property management side, as the economy's gotten a little harder, interest rates have come down. We've seen more activity on the investor side, but then we've seen more of a struggle with those same tenants being able to maintain the elevated rent with higher inflation. And so we're having to work with them more to keep them out of eviction. So there's so many different challenges, but that are very specific to those companies. However, it is the people that are running them um, that are handling the day to day and handling the big picture and seeing what the goal is for all of the companies. But yeah, it's really the team that's doing it. It's
Yeah.
very rare that I have to kind of step back in. It really is.
Yeah. Well, that's nice. I mean, it's that's the goal, right? Is to
That's the
get to
dream,
that
right?
point in a business
A lot
ownership
of times,
stage.
I think they might get more mad at me if I did try to step in and be like, "So, I'm like,
Like,
no,
can you
Lindsay,
just
we
stay
got
out
to
of the way?
get out, get
Yeah.
out."
Yeah. Well,
But
and
that's what I would like. I would love the
yeah.
ownership that they feel that they don't want me involved.
Yeah. Well, and I think you just, sort of, it sounds at its surface, it sounds really nice to sort of bring everything in house and be in control. You highlighted how at certain times different arms of that overall, the different businesses are going to be at, sort of different functioning at different levels, from a I guess revenue standpoint, and also just like you said, different problems in each vertical. Um, but ideally, you get to build something that, when one's up, the others down, that kind of, like they're not all down at once, or
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's nice if they're all up at once, but
That'd
it's,
be great.
yeah. but yeah, the team building aspect is, I I think it's so important, and maybe it does sound a little bit cliche, but I believe you. Like that is to me the way to build successful businesses, and grow and scale over time, and kind of build the life that you want to have in conjunction with those businesses. How do you do that? I think it's easier said than done, sort of finding the right team members to have that run smoothly. How do you look at team building from in your eyes?
It is the hardest thing, and what you typically see from, especially from those that are entrepreneurs and they have this vision and they know they can get from, hey, they see I'm at point A, I know that I can get to point Z. But how to get there, I'm going to have to rely on other people. And that's where a lot of people are stalled. And that, if, especially when you're smaller and you wear all of the hats. And that's something that I think everybody struggled with. I know I struggled with, is that you do everything. You're checking all of the boxes. You've got your hand in every single thing. There was times where it's like, hey, I was out there buying the properties. I was overseeing the renovation. I was working with I was also kind of a leasing agent as well. So I would help show the properties to renters, and then, and had a couple of other people that would be interim leasing agents too. So it was like you were doing all of the things.
Right.
And then, so it becomes, as you grow, it becomes essential for you to offload some of those tasks. And that's where I think a lot of people hit the wall the most, is because it's for a couple of things. It's like, hey, they're not going to be able to do it the way that I want it done, or they're not going to be, it's not going to work out with that person, and then I'm just going to have to take it back on. And that happens. That's happened to me several times.
Yep.
But it's at a piecemeal. What we've seen success with is having somebody come in and take portions of jobs. With a growing company, every new position is brand new, so you can kind of tailor it to how you see fit. And that's allowed us to scale and see what is needed, what's needed to be taken off, what's needed to be removed, what's something that can be absorbed when someone leaves. All of those are just work in progresses, and that you just have to kind of figure out. But the biggest thing that you can do is, once you've established that, hey, this person is a go-to person, they're going above and beyond, they take charge, they want the additional responsibility. Once you find those people, and they're definitely out there, that you build that working relationship with, then it becomes a trust but verify type of relationship. You always have to verify, but you have to trust that they're going to be able to take it and run. And you just have to know in the back of your head that there is a chance that it will not work out. That person will have to leave, and you will have to take that back on. And it's that fear of having to take it back on is what keeps people, their plates full, and like, hey, no, I'm going to have to do it anyway, eventually.
Right.
And that's not always the case. It's not always the case. You do find people that are, that have extreme ownership in what they're doing, and have a love of the company and their employees and their teams, that want to perform at a high level, primarily for them, not necessarily for you, but for the people that they are responsible for. And so, I mean, you never bat 1,000. You're always going to have people that it doesn't work out with, but you have to just operate under the trust but verify.
Yeah. I mean, I think that point is so important to highlight. These, that you're not going to bat 1,000. I have friends with businesses, and I'm like, why don't you hire someone so you aren't doing all of the work and whatnot? And it's like, well, I tried that. And people, they do it one time,
Yep.
and it doesn't work out. And it's like, well, but did you try again? How did you find that person? Like, I think there's so much to finding that team. And even if you you have your process down really well, you're probably still not going to hit on every single person. So it's like, the willingness to accept. I mean, I've heard people approach this different ways. You're saying, just recognize that there might be pieces of that you have to bring on or offload to someone else. I've heard people say, hire two, like you probably can't hire like two CFOs. Like you can't,
Right.
but in some, certain positions, like a sales
A
position
sales position.
an
Yep.
office, like just hire two. If you have a 50% hit rate, like you're good, right? And so I think that there are ways to manage this without like losing your mind and just getting, kind of frustrated that you're going back to it over and over again. But I think, ultimately, if you do want to grow and scale your business / your life and have some things outside of be able to spend time with your family and all of that, like I think that you've gotta look at building that team
Yeah.
and building it in a way that um, you know it's probably not gonna feel good every single time because you might have to fire someone or they might leave and you won't know why or whatever. But I mean, I think that those things are just a part of it, a part of owning that
They
business.
are. I mean, they
Um,
really are. And, it's growing a company that's going to be required on the performance of people is just always in the stars unless you are a software, like unless you do code, like write code, and you are solo and you have your own company and you don't have to rely on anybody. I would probably make the argument that you could optimize by hiring an assistant, but I won't do that because there are those people out there that are just solo. But if you are growing and scaling a company, you're absolutely going to have to rely on people. And what you tend to see too is that I have these same conversations with the people that are running these companies, is that, hey, you have to offload some of this. It's in our debriefs as well. It's in our one-on-one meetings. And that, why are you still handling this? Because you'll see is your overachievers, they tend to hang on to all of the tasks
yeah,
because they're like, no, I don't want to put that on my team, or I'll just knock that out really quick. And so then I'm having the same conversations with them that I kind of had to have with myself as well, and been like, no, there's no reason you should be doing this task. Think of all you could do with your free time if you were doing something else, kind of thing.
yeah. I think that's a great message that you had to tell yourself these things, because I do think, like, in a lot of ways as entrepreneurs, I think in a lot it's great. You listen to a podcast, listen to a business coach, listen to whatever, and they're like, yeah, you should hire people to help you. And it's like, it sounds very very obvious, but it's there's I would imagine that it's one of the reasons why a lot of people don't become entrepreneurs, or why they don't scale their business, because to get past a certain point, you have to recognize that a lot of things are going to not work. Like a lot of things you
Right.
try are going to work, and you have to be willing to keep trying a new thing or a new person or a new and so then that's why people say, you want to get away from working in the business to working on the business, because the working on the business is making all those mistakes so your team doesn't have to, basically. Like, it's just figuring out what works and trying things and being, kind of that accountable person for the things that don't work and the things that do work, and just keep making tweaks until it probably never all falls into place, but until most of
No.
it falls into place. It's but just being that, almost like that, I don't know, you're the mad scientist of your own business once you reach that level where it's like you've got people running the experiments and you're just coming up with the formulas. I don't know, like, bad analogy, but you get what I mean.
No, but it's pretty, yeah, you're 100% on point there.
But it is a tricky. It's a tricky step to take. I mean, I like when I first left W-2 job to be full-time entrepreneur, like the first problem was like, I don't even know how to manage my own time. Like, what do I do when someone else isn't telling me where to spend my time? And it's like, I think we don't learn that in our young lives. And so it's like, you got to figure that out, and you got to say, oh,
Yep.
so first you do too much, and then you burn yourself out, and then you're like, oh, I'm not doing enough here in this spot. And it's a lot of trial and error and figuring out what works. And ideally you can listen to people like yourself who are, having success and learned by some trial and error as well. So I think it's just, it's kind of a fascinating game to play in figuring out, what, because the same things aren't always going to work for every person either. So I really just love that, the idea of kind of building something uh, with that team in mind, though. I think it's
Yeah.
so vital.
And
Um,
it wasn't until 2019 when I hired my first executive assistant that I was fully committed to exactly what I'm saying.
yeah,
It was
yeah,
I had offloaded things here and there, but I was still terrible at it, and I was still doing a lot myself. And I had somebody leave, and I was like, man, okay, I've got to hire an assistant. And I brought on, and she was phenomenal. She was, I mean, just very high end executive. We spent a lot of time and energy recruiting her, and worth everything, worth every penny. Completely changed just my mindset in like, hey, how much more efficient I can be
yeah,
with someone. It's just, again, it sounds very cliche, like we just read it out of a book, but
yeah. No, I mean, I completely agree. I think the the number of things that person can take off your plate, and I mean, honestly, for me, I appreciate my executive assistant in not maybe even less. I mean, she does a lot that I probably don't even like. I know that she does, but I don't know how to do it. So it's like it's great that she does those things and takes on, but also like she's really a great sounding board. Like just to be
mm-hmm.
like, hey, we were just talking about you have to run these experiments, and it's like, hey, is this totally crazy to try this kind of thing? Like it's just having
Absolutely,
someone else to
absolutely.
bounce ideas off of. I think is fine, very very helpful. So no, I completely agree. Well, Lindsay, let me shift gears. You've touched on it a couple times, but I want to make sure I give you the opportunity to directly answer or add to what you said. I ask every guest, what is your why? And I know you've talked about your family and the business, but I wanted to give you a chance if you want to add to that or expand upon any of it. Please feel free.
Yeah, I would have to again come back to my family is a really big point for my why and why I want to do exactly kind of what I do. Now, I will say a lot of people ask, well, so real estate, that's how you got started. Why real estate? And I feel very, very passionate about the abilities of single family homes, but I also a big part of my goal was growing a company that with a certain culture that was very work life balanced, that placed a very high importance on its team members, employees, and so real estate also was the vehicle that allowed me to do that, and that is a big part of my why professionally is not necessarily, hey, buying the properties, et cetera, et cetera. It's creating the opportunity for those investors that may not be local here, but then it's also creating the employment opportunity to our local markets for people to have that, be able to be licensed. We provide licenses for employees and any kind of certifications required. And we really stress PTO, time with your family. We stress a work-life balance. So it's kind of a multifaceted in that I took my why for my family and I wanted to create a company with the same focus as to what's important to me. And it's proved very, very successful because we have a lot of people that will take job opportunities here, even though it may not make as much as a commercial construction supervisor, but they know that they're going to be able to spend more time at home with their families. And that's very important to me and to our culture as a whole. And if you look at the industries that we're in property management and construction. Those are two of the highest turnover industries out there outside of service and retail. And with anywhere from a 40 to 45% turnover on average, I think construction's like 48%. I can't remember exactly what it is, but they are the highest turnover. And we are less than 15% turnover for between all of our companies. And so that's really kind of just dives at the heart of my personal why, is with my family, and then also creating that same culture with Spartan.
That's fantastic.
So country.
That's a very low turnover rate. So that really I mean, and I think like the I'm sure you don't do it all just for the awards, but it correlates, right? Like doing things the way that you do, and kind of creating the business with the vision that you do, and passing that why on to your team members. I think just that, to me, that's how you grow. You grow by creating a place that people want to work. People want to work there. Mm-hmm. They want to work with you. Like that. That's just. I think that all of that points to how to have successful business ventures. So I love it. When people hear this and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to reach out?
The best way to find out more about Spartan Invest or the property management side, Atlas Rental Property, anything that you want to read about, is spartaninvest.com. Now, on our website, we have a ton of information. We have our investor education guide. It breaks down everything that we do to the properties on the renovation side, and how we handle rent collection, and when a tenant vacates, it details out the zip codes of why we purchase here and not here. And so there's a lot of information on there. If you're just taking a flight and you're extremely bored, it's just a lot to read through. There's different market reports, but also we have a podcast as well. It's On the House with Spartan Invest. I'm the host, and the majority of episodes are really just tailored more towards our process. So there's 2 or 3 episodes on how we evaluate a property in order to purchase it. And there's episodes on exactly what we're doing on the renovation side. So if you're just wanting to learn a little bit more about us or about turnkey in general, then I think both of those are great options.
Awesome. We'll get all that in the show notes so people can find you easily. Lindsay, thank you so much for coming on the show today. Really enjoyed the conversation. I really do love the way you approach business in general, and just with that focus on team and family. So thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I'm sure people are going to love this episode.
Thank you so much, Jason, for having me on. I appreciate it. I had fun.
Yeah, awesome. Folks listening, make sure you connect with Lindsay. Please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get great guests. And as always, thank you for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?